The old animal shelter stood weathered and worn, a testament to years of neglect and abandonment. Its paint peeled like old wounds, revealing layers of history and sorrow. Each creak and groan whispered tales of forgotten souls, stories that had long been buried under the weight of time. The air hung heavy with a silence that was broken only by the occasional whimper of a lonely animal. The dim lighting cast long shadows, adding to the sense of desolation that filled the space. It was a place of shadows, echoing with the ghosts of abandoned hopes and dreams. Each corner seemed to hold a memory, a fragment of a life once cherished but now forgotten. Inside, cold concrete floors offered little comfort, their chill seeping into the bones of the animals that lay upon them. The stark, unyielding surfaces were a harsh contrast to the warmth and love these creatures so desperately needed. The kennels, though clean, couldn't mask the scent of fear and despair that clung to the air. The meticulous cleanliness was a small solace in a place where hope was a rare commodity. Each clang of the metal bars seemed to amplify the loneliness that permeated every corner. The sound echoed through the halls, a constant reminder of the isolation and confinement experienced by the animals within. For the animals within its walls, the shelter was a stark reminder of their plight. Their eyes, filled with a mixture of hope and resignation, told stories of abandonment and longing for a place to call home. The shelter, though a haven, was also a prison, a place where dreams of freedom and love were held captive. Max, a scruffy terrier mix, huddled in the corner of his kennel. His small frame trembled with a mix of fear and confusion as he tried to make sense of his new harsh reality. His eyes, once bright and full of life, were now clouded with sadness. They told a story of loss and abandonment, a tale of a dog who once knew love and warmth. He had been abandoned a week ago, left tied to the shelter gates with nothing but a worn-out collar. The memory of that cold, lonely night haunted him. The moment his world was turned upside down. The world as he knew it had vanished in a puff of exhaust fumes. Days bled into nights, each one more indistinguishable than the last. The bustling city outside seemed like a distant dream, a place he no longer belonged to. The sounds of the city faded into a dull roar beyond the shelter walls. The once familiar noises now felt like a cruel reminder of the life he had lost, a life filled with walks, playtime and a loving home. Each day hope dwindled as he watched other dogs leave with their new families, their tails wagging, their eyes sparkling with joy. He longed for the day someone would choose him, but that day never seemed to come. But for Max, there was only an aching emptiness. The kennel, once a place of temporary refuge, now felt like a prison. His heart ached for companionship, for a gentle touch, for a place to call home once more. One morning, a ray of hope pierced the shelter's gloom. The sun rose, casting a warm golden light through the windows, signaling a new beginning. A group of volunteers arrived, their arms laden with blankets, toys and treats. They brought not just supplies, but a renewed sense of hope and care. Their laughter echoed through the corridors, a stark contrast to the usual silence. The once quiet and somber shelter now buzzed with joy and activity. They moved with a purpose, their faces alight with compassion and love. Each volunteer had a role, and together they formed a symphony of kindness. There was Sarah, her gentle touch calming the most frightened animal. Her presence was a soothing balm, easing the anxiety of the shelter's residents. John, with his booming laugh and endless patience, could coax a smile from the grumpiest of cats. His playful spirit brought out the best in every feline he met. And little Emily, her eyes shining with empathy, seemed to understand the silent language of the animals. Her gentle demeanor and kind heart made her a favorite among the shelter's inhabitants. The volunteers didn't just bring supplies. They brought life back to the shelter, they organized the supplies, set up play areas, and created a nurturing environment. The animals, once forlorn and desolate, now played with their new toys and enjoyed the treats. The shelter had transformed into a haven of joy and love. The arrival of the volunteers marked a turning point. The shelter, once a place of sorrow, was now filled with warmth, light, and endless possibilities. Sarah approached Max's kennel, her voice soft and reassuring. She knelt down, gently offering him a treat. He flinched, unsure of her true intentions. Days of neglect had made him wary of any human touch, but Sarah persisted, her patience unwavering and kind. Slowly, tentatively, Max inched forward, curious yet cautious. He sniffed her hand cautiously, his tail giving a hesitant wag. It was the first sign of hope he had shown since his arrival. Sarah slipped a leash over his head, and together they stepped out of the kennel and into the warm sunlight.